Our special guest at this time is Anthea Yugawa, LNS College Advisor in the Department of Math and Physical Sciences at University of California, Berkeley. Anthea joined the LNS Office of Undergraduate Advising in August of 2018, having previously worked in the Center of Science, Education, and Outreach at UC San Francisco, providing services, advising, and program coordination for first-generation immigrant, underrepresented, and underserved high school students in the southeast sector of San Francisco. Anthea earned her Bachelor of Science in Human Development at University of California, Davis and Doctor of Psychology at Wright Institute. Anthea is a proud NACADA member and serves on the steering committee for Region 9 as Diversity Coordinator. She enjoys spending time with family and friends, cooking, exercising outdoors, and dancing, and has competed in triathlons. This is going to be a fun, I think, conversation. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks so much for having me today.
We're thrilled to have you and to get an opportunity to delve into your role at your current institution. I'm sure we'll discuss your path into advising is generally where we like to start to give our listeners the opportunity to kind of get to know you a little bit. So Matt's gone through. You have a really interesting bio, but can you talk to us, Anthea, I suppose, about how it was that you came to be where you are now?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a circuitous route. Um, my background, in human development and clinical psych, my plan, and I had for many years been in the sort of counseling and therapy realm, and higher education was not on my radar. Um, until I did my postdoctoral fellowship at UCSF in the faculty and staff assistance program, so providing brief counseling there. And then I was exposed to opportunities at the graduate student orientation. So UCSF is just a graduate health institution for graduate professionals. And so, I was exposed to the student orientations at that point, and asked to kind of join in um, sort of welcoming the students, providing some orientation to support services. And so there was a slight intro to students in that way. And then after my fellowship, I had the opportunity to provide training. So from counseling and therapy, I had the opportunity to work as a diversity educator and trainer for the campus, and so that's where I started my work in terms of um, doing some needs assessment for departments, really getting a sense from staff at different levels about the needs of the work culture and environment, and then being able to then create some curriculum and content that was specific to the needs of the departments. And so that was really interesting. I'd never developed curriculum, and so being able to do that, and then provide workshops and trainings, and then evaluations after that, was a really interesting experience for me. What I did find, though, that I missed the interactions, in terms of either one-on-one that I was having when I was providing therapy or counseling. And so it just so happened that after one of the trainings I was providing to a group of students, um, a director from a program um, walked up to me and said, "Hey, I have this position. I don't know if we can pay you enough, but we work with high school students. It's an outreach program, it's a pipeline program." And I said, "Okay, send me the job description." And lo and behold, it was with the Center for Science and Education Outreach at UCSF, and working with first generation immigrant high school students, really supporting them and trying to help them find a way to higher education, not just UCs, not just four-year institutions, but also community colleges, just a variety of ways to help students um, really reach that next level beyond graduation. So I worked in the high schools with a STEM academy in the Southeast sector, and I loved it. This is where I really found um, just this love of working with students that was very different than therapy and counseling. Because to be quite honest, I had worked in terms of clinical psychology with a lot of trauma, specifically with post traumatic stress disorder of different populations. Um, in addiction, working with veterans, working with children in foster care, and I was ready for a change and ready for a shift and needed that break. And so, working with students who have dreams and goals was just this positive way to still connect with students and people and really support them in ways that is still really fulfilling. So, yeah, I loved the work with students, and that's really where it started.
Yeah, and it seems like a lot of your, current position or past positions, whether it's students or not, like you've been helping, all right? You've been
Hmm.
working with others and, to help better develop them. And I think that's just great. It's just like, you've been in these different sectors, but the main thing that connects it all is that helping piece. Do you feel like with the counseling background that it was an easy transition into like the higher education academic advising realm?
I do. I think definitely, I feel like advisors, we're heart-centered people. We we grind, and we are there for our students. It's not always glamorous, certainly not the highest paid, but that's not why we do it. We do it because we care, and we want to really be a part of or witness to students being successful, and being able to see them move on. So, despite challenges they face throughout their academic journeys.
And I suppose then, in thinking of your current role, Anthea, we've heard, the way in which you found your passion to work with students. But can you talk to us a little bit like about your current role and what that entails?
Sure. So, right now, I am one of the college advisors in the College of Letters and Science. Um, And within the college, we have what's called neighborhoods, which is really cool because it's broken down into different divisions. And so I'm with the math and physical sciences neighborhood. And the way the neighborhoods work out is that we, as college advisors, are seen as more generalists, um, where we're working with all students from, first years, transfer students, undeclared, all the way throughout their journeys, because students not only need to complete their major requirements, but we also have college requirements. So we're a part of the student's journey throughout. Um, and so, day to day, it involves working with meeting students in their appointments. And so it's a variety of reasons. So whether it's um, helping them just navigate how to enroll in courses, navigating, um, academic difficulty and struggles, needing help with resources, needing connection to student groups, tutoring, health services, study abroad. So we're sort of one of the main stops for students before they either connect with a major department, or maybe it's a campus partner, for international students or disabled students, or one of our partners that are connected to first generation or transfer center or student parents. So we're sort of the first stop in many cases. Um, so meeting with students is one aspect of my job day to day. We're also involved in a lot of projects and being a part of outreach and engagement initiatives. So each advisor has a project they lead or are involved in. So, so many different opportunities within the office. So, one for me is that I'm working on the neighborhood lead, and so there's other leads for social sciences, uh, the biological sciences, and then arts and humanities. So those are neighborhoods. But then there's also outreach engagement for transfer student, sophomore success, um,
Mhm.
golden bear advising and orientation, which is sort of our summer orientation. So we have a lot of different opportunities. We also have committees that work specifically with academic difficulty or challenges that students engage in. We have liaisons and satellite advising opportunities where we um, our advisors work closely with our campus partners in study abroad, for example, or with the international students. And so we also have specific advisors connected to our um, student populations. For example, like our Asian Pacific Islander center and our African American student center and our Latinx Chicano students. So we have advisors working closely with those various departments as well. So we wear a lot of different hats, and we have different teams who are working on our newsletters and websites. So I would say there's a lot of variety in our office, and it's not just advising. So we're always engaged. There's always multiple projects and things we're engaged in as well.
Yeah, so it's never not busy. You're always doing something,
No.
and but I like that you definitely have that engagement piece with it, and also kind of going back to like the neighborhood term. Like I had never heard that with at an institution, like with different offices. Has that was that a term was there when you started, or is that something that's new?
It's actually something that our office really introduced to the campus, and it was a way to really um, twofold help support the students in terms of provide us seamless or more seamless interaction between offices, because so often our students are referred from one office to the other office to the other office. So it was really one of the intentions was to um, connect more closely with the major advisors in the departments, and not to become experts,
Mhm.
but to provide a little bit more specialization with regards to maybe some major requirements or maybe some processes um, that we could help navigate students with or connect students to before necessarily referring them to other offices. And so it's allowed us to also really work more closely with the departments and understand their policies or their enrollment changes, and that way we're in the loop, so we can also share that information as we're meeting with students, and then of course refer students to the major departments for specific information or clarity. But we've kind of taken the term as neighborhoods, and for summer we sort of extended that to having small groups that we call block parties, where it's really just a chance to meet students and build community rather than specific small group advising. But it's been pretty cool so far.
Yeah, no, it certainly sounds it. One of the things that is always interesting, and we've had talked to a couple of guests in the past about this, but you have worked at a couple of different institutions, and I suppose just interested in terms of making that transition to a new institution, because you've been, I think, in your current institute for a few years now, so you've had the ability to settle in. But reflecting back, can you talk to us about making that transition, and what was that like for you, Anthea?
Yeah, so I didn't think I was gonna leave UCSF. Lived in San Francisco, and was really happy and, saw my career moving forward. Um, and then I got married and, uh, got pregnant and had a daughter. And, some of my priorities changed a little bit. And with that was this connection to wanting to start something new. And so I took a little detour and decided to leave UCSF to start a business. And it was baby wearing dancing. So basically carrying your babies and dancing with them to like R&B, hip hop. Um, and and so I left UCSF, thought I was going to start this business, started this business, and realized within the first month that I was so attached to my career, I could not be in advising. And so that's where I um, frantically was looking for opportunities at institutions. And by that time, we had moved to the East Bay, and so I just looked at Berkeley. And was so fortunate to have found an opportunity to work with the Department of Economics there. And so I will say that I was trying to work the baby wearing business for a while, for about 2 years while I was working, but I just realized so quickly that it took me less than a month before I was back in applying for advising positions and working part time. Um, and I think one of the things that I'm still, even though I've been at UC Berkeley for several years, 3 years now, um, I'm still learning. I'm still kind of figuring it out. It's such a different campus than UCSF, and that partly could have been the nature of my role at UCSF. I felt very connected and rooted to a lot of different departments, and here at Berkeley within the college, while I have connections to specific major departments, I still am looking for a little bit more of a connection outside of the college and outside of the departments that I'm still navigating and figuring out. And I think one of the ways that I'm able to do that is just putting myself out there and being involved in different committees and different staff organizations, sometimes staff development opportunities and conferences where I'm networking and meeting folks. And so that's been one way to help me feel a little bit more connected to others. Um, but and there's plenty of opportunities, but I still feel like I'm navigating my way around the campus.
But it seems like, you as a person, you go out there, like, you put yourself out there, you try new things, you make yourself available, and because I think some people might have thought, like, "Oh, if I leave my current job, it's secure, and then I'm gonna go try to do my business."
Yeah,
That must have been, I would assume, was a really tough choice to do that, but then also
yeah,
realizing, well, now that I'm outside of it, I realize that I miss it and I really want to go back to it. And some people may not even make that decision to make that jump, but you did, and it's led you down this amazing life path in a way too.
exactly.
Yeah, and with we're talking about UC Berkeley. How would you describe this institution to someone that just knows it by name, but not really doesn't know much about the institution? How would you describe it?
Gosh, I mean, so it is. While the campus is really well known and, there's a lot of name recognition, I think, you just have to sort of, if you can envision being on campus, it's still a hub of a lot of social and political movement that happens, and people are really vocal about their thoughts and their opinions, and there's always just a buzz about Berkeley, and it's a really, I would say, vibrant campus when we're on campus. um, it's always really vibrant. So I feel like there's pockets, um, and places for you to kind of discover and figure out. But at the same time, sort of acknowledging that because it's sort of this big name, um, you know, you can get lost. And so I think a big part is finding community and really seeking that community, is important in whatever way. So whether it's professionally, personally, so I would say, there is a sort of big feel to it. So, if you will, like finding your people, I think is really important. Um, and so I think it's a great place. There's a lot of opportunities and there's a lot of movement that happens pretty frequently that I think took a while for me to adjust in terms of staff. Um, but that is part of the culture. There's a lot of folks that move in and out of, different departments, and that was something that really stood out to me. And I think it speaks to different opportunities that, arise, on the campus and how things are constantly changing.
Yeah, no, it's interesting to hear that because I mean, it has not right name recognition, not just in California, not just in the United States, but globally. I mean, it's famous here
Mhm.
in Ireland as well. So interesting to hear that and that piece about finding your people. I mean, it's funny how we say that to students about settling in, and it's the same, for staff. And in terms of community, I suppose, Anthony, and just finding one's people. I know you're involved with Nakata. Can you talk about like how you first became involved with Nakata?
Yeah, so I was really introduced to it as a professional development opportunity to attend a conference, and I've always, been someone who is interested in engaging in different ways, in my career. So whether it's, through courses, through workshops, through classes, but also conferences, because I think conferences really allow me to gain a sense of what's happening outside of our campus, what's happening in other states, in other countries, in other institutions, to get a barometer of what's trending, what are the really like important topics, that we need to consider and we, need to be mindful of too. So after attending my first conference, uh, I really, again, it was one of those situations where I said, "Well, how can I be involved more? What does that look like? What would be the commitment?" And so, thankfully, I was connected with, Amber Dillon on my, campus, who served as the previous chair before our current chair, Sherry, and she was just really, generous and nice, and she sat and met with me at the Nakata conference and talked to me about just her role, um, the benefits of getting connected not just as a member, but being a part of the steering committee, and how historically UC Berkeley and, members of our community have been involved in Nakata. And so, she said, I just think it'd be a nice opportunity to get your feet wet, just, kind of see what that's like and see if that's something that you're interested in. And so I, took a look at the various positions, and sure enough, something as things circle back, the diversity coordinator position came up, and I said, it's kind of a nice way to bring back some of my previous experience, um, and be able to apply it in a different way. Um, and so that's really kind of where, I got involved, and it's been a really fantastic, experience for me with a lot of flexibility and creativity as well.
Yeah, and I think, you had wrote that you wanted to improve diversity and inclusion in the areas of Region Nine's diverse representation, whether it's the membership, incorporating diversity initiatives and curriculum, and also identifying gaps for increased diversity through assessment measures. one of the things you've introduced is something called the community agreement. Can you talk about what a community agreement is and why that's important?
Absolutely. So this really came out of our office. So our office did a lot of work, intentional work with a campus partner that was rooted in um, social justice. And we did and this came at a time where we were really evaluating our mission and our goals and values. And so um, there was intention around creating a specific kind of work culture and environment, not just between students, not just between departments, but just really in all interactions. And it had to start with the way that we created our own work culture. And so, um, I'm just really proud of the work that our office and our staff have done to create these community agreements. And these community agreements are something that we start off our uh, every week our staff meetings by going over them and reading them and um, you know while they may be simple in, um, just what they say in terms of respect and, just how we wanna be, how we wanna act, how we wanna interact with each other, it's, I think it's powerful to make the statement and to stand by the statement and to, um, be mindful as we're starting a meeting or, um interacting with each other that these are the things that we want to uphold um and it's just it feels like it's a very important aspect to me to include these community agreements. It's something that we all created together, and it's something that you know it's intentional, so it's a nice way to start a meeting, if you will, and it's a nice reminder.
Yeah, absolutely, and I really like the intentionality behind it. Now, you mentioned earlier, and we've been very fortunate that she's been a guest on the podcast. Sherry Souza, the current chair of of Region 9, before Matt takes over. So, just interested in hearing about, like, how you've found working with Sherry, and what that's been like for you.
It's been great. I love Sherry. I appreciate how laid back she is and how easy and supportive she is in terms of ideas and just her sincerity around really wanting to create a positive environment for our steering committee, wanting to really embrace the different ideas that our committee members come up with and find different ways to incentivize, more connection and membership. And she's always just been so supportive. So it's been really great to work with Sherry, and I think she also sort of pushes the envelope when we bring ideas about to executive office and certain things like I kind of threw out the idea of community agreements for our steering committee, and we did an exercise around that with our members, and while it may have been uncomfortable or a stretch to kind of like talk about what do we mean by respect, what do we mean by being compassionate, what do we mean by being authentic, um, she really supported that, and found a way for us to sort of integrate that and implement. Eventually, we're at the place where we share this with the group, and so she's just been really supportive. It's been great, and I'm excited for her to move on, but also sad too.
Yeah, she's so open to anything that like the steering committee members are interested in, pushing through. And she's like, whatever I can do to help.
Yeah.
She's just been great. And there was other interviews that we've done where we've kind of talked about how each person in that position, in any position in
Mhm.
Nakata, like they get it to the next level, and then that person takes over, and then they get it to the next level. And I mean, they've just done such amazing work. So as we continue on with this conversation, in one of Region Nine's
Mhm.
blog posts, which highlighted different committee members, you were highlighted, and there was a question of what's your go-to productivity trick? And yours was having your diffuser on with all your favorite smells and to get you focused and also to do checklists. So, how have you found those to be productivity tricks for you?
So which is connected to like my talk story, around senses. I just realized that, um, when I had another colleague have a diffuser, I always was in her office. I don't know why. I don't know what brought me there, but it always smelled nice. It always felt really nice. And so when I decided to take that on and bring a diffuser in and kind of explore different scents, I also recognized that students really enjoyed it. Students also like it made them feel welcome, and they would comment, "Oh, it's like a spa in here," or "It feels like a spa." It's like got a little light and got this little smoke going on, but it also smells really nice. Um, and so, part of it for me is, just creating a welcoming environment, for students, but also for myself, so that I can work, and be sort of in the best space and place that I need to be. And so it's been something that's been really, helpful for me personally, because I know when I start my day, pour my water in, and turn it on, like, I feel like I'm ready. I can, like, let's go. And so that's like just sort of a feel, experience, but then the checklist is just my accountability. There's just so much that if I don't write it down, it's gone. And it was sort of one of the things that we talk about in our office is don't wait to write your notes at the end of the day, because you don't even remember what student you met with and what specific topic or, action step you did, because, it's just you're going from so many, students that you forget. So we always like one of the things I say is don't wait to the end, or at least write down, jot notes in between student appointments. And so that keeps me straight. It saves my life. And I do it all around, groceries, whatever it is. Lists save me.
That's so true about the don't wait until the end of the day because, like, you'll get your appointments and then let's say it runs over and then you're like, "Oh, my next appointment's here. I'll do the notes
Uh-huh.
later." And then it gets to the end of the day and you're like, "Uh, what did we talk about?" And this will happen to me, and then I'll write the most basic notes, for that student, and I'm like, "I have to put something in here, but I really don't remember."
Right.
Everything that we talked about. So it is so true. Even if it runs over or whatnot, it's like just yeah, just write down a couple, jot down a couple notes so you are reminded if you are going to do it later.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I suppose, Anthea, we're recording this kind of right at the beginning of the academic year, and for most people, like be it over the next few weeks,
Yeah.
university life is going to be beginning back up again. Just interested, are there any goals that you've set for yourself this year, or anything that you're taking from last year and looking to implement, or even something as simple as like, some learning from, I know that one of my colleagues has said that they're from over the past 18 months, given everything and all the change, they're going to endeavor to be kinder to themselves for this coming academic year. Just wondering if there's anything for you as we move into the new academic year.
Absolutely. Things are uncertain on our campus in terms of, even though students are in person, we're currently remote, but that, is going to change likely, in terms of a hybrid model. And so, just being really mindful about, how to keep myself safe and healthy, and just really knowing what I'm comfortable with, what I'm not comfortable with in terms of safety and protection. But also, one of the things I implemented over this year was taking breaks, and like not just on the calendar, but really making myself leave my computer, leave the house, to take walks, and to take breaks. And it's so easy when we're in the office, but also at home, to feel like we just need to keep going to prove our productivity. And so really making sure to schedule those, not just schedule the breaks on the calendar, but have it be an alarm, making sure we stand up and get away, give our minds and our bodies that break to just decompress. So for sure.
That is great advice because you'll hear people talk about put time in your schedule that you do, and it's like, yeah, you can write it down or put it on your electronic calendar or whatnot, but
Hmm.
then that time comes and you're like, "Oh, well, let me just get these 5 other emails done first, or let me answer this question, or
Uh-huh.
let me work on this, and then I'll do it." But then it's time for the next appointment or the next thing. Any
Mhm.
advice on how to like kind of force yourself to make sure you follow through on that schedule?
Yeah, I mean, if it whether it's a colleague or a friend, or if you're at home, someone you live with, to just have that accountability. So, at certain times of the day, I check in with, someone that's not here. And
Mhm.
so that physically has me away from my computer. So whether it's a phone call or a text or a walk, I have myself accountable to someone else. But if you're not, I think just really forcing yourself, having that alarm go off. It's so hard to do that at first, but if there's a way you can even ask a friend to say, "Hey, can we get on a call at this
Mhm.
at this time?" No if, ands, or buts for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Like that'll be what gets you to take a break.
Yeah, no, I think that's good advice. Maybe buying one of those old alarm clocks and setting it across the room, so you have to physically get up from your desk to turn it off. Otherwise, you have to deal with the beeping. Andy, I think for listeners who you've offered loads of kind of great advice and insights, and I think particularly things around maybe the community agreements. There might well be listeners who would love to hear more and find out a little bit more and delve deeper. Is there a way that they can get in touch with you to find out a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. I'm happy to share my email contact information, with folks that would love to connect with me, and I can share that right now. It's a Yugawa, Yugawa, at berkeley.edu. So again, it's Yugawa at berkeley.edu.
Perfect. And again, they'll see your name in the show notes. So it's just the first initial and your surname at berkeley.edu. You've been a fantastic guest. You've offered just so many, I think, little practical things alongside some of the theory. So this has been a really fun interview. Want to say thanks to you for taking the time to chat to myself and Matt today.
Oh, you're so, so welcome. It's been an honor, and I hope to hear from some of you out there and would love to connect as well. I'm also on LinkedIn, but to be perfectly honest, not super active, but that could be a way that I can be and be a force to. So thanks so much for having me.